for action. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhare Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhare Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhare Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhare Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnavad Paramahangs Parivrajak Status Sismad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Gopremanande. All glories to this, Amo devotees. All glories to this, Amo devotees. All glories to this, Amo devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12. Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Text 42. Ya Pancha Varsho Guru Dara Vak Sharar Binena Yato Hridayena Duyata Vanam Mad Adesha Karo Jitam Prabhum Jigaya Tad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Yapanchavarsho Gurudara Vaksharaya Binena Yato Hridayena Duyata Vanamadadesha Karojitam Prabhum Jigaya Tad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Yapanchavarsho Gurudara Vaksharaya Binena Yato Hridayena Duyata Vanamadadesha Karojitam Prabhum Jigaya Tad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Yapanchavarsho Gurudara Vaksharaya Binena Yato Hridayena Duyata Vanamadadesha Karojitam Prabhum Jigaya Tad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Ladies, Hridayena Duyata Vanamadadesha Karojitam Prabhum Jigaya Tad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Dasha Guru Vaksharaya Binayana Yato Hridayena Duyata Vanambaladesha Karojitam Prabhum Jigaya Tad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam Ya He who Panchavarsha at the age of 5 years Gurudara of the wife of his father Vaksharai by the harsh words Binena being very much aggrieved Yata went Hridayena because his heart Duyata very much pained Vanam to the forest Mat Adesha according to my instruction Kara acting Ajitam unconquerable Prabhum the Supreme Personality of Godhead Jigaya he defeated Tat his Bhakta of devotees Gunai with the qualities Parajitam conquered. Translation. The great sage Narada continued, just see how Dhruva Maharaj, aggrieved at the harsh words of his stepmother, went to the forest at the age of only 5 years, and under my direction underwent austerity. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unconquerable, Dhruva Maharaj defeated him with the specific qualifications possessed by the Lord's devotees. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Godhead is unconquerable. No one can conquer the Lord, but he voluntarily accepts subordination to the devotional qualities of his devotees. For example, Lord Krishna accepted subordination to the control of Mother Yashoda because she was a great devotee. The Lord likes to be under the control of his devotees. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said that everyone comes before the Lord and offers him exalted prayers, but the Lord does not feel as pleased when offered such prayers, as he does when a devotee out of pure love chastises him as a subordinate. The Lord forgets his exalted position and willingly submits to his pure devotee. Dhruva Maharaj conquered the Supreme Lord because at a very tender age, only 5 years old, he underwent all the austerities of devotional service. This devotional service was, of course, executed under the direction of a great sage, Narada. This is the first principle of devotional service, adau gurvashrayam. In the beginning, one must accept a bona fide spiritual master. And if a devotee follows strictly the direction of the spiritual master, as Dhruva Maharaj followed the instruction of Narada Muni, then it is not difficult for him to achieve the favor of the Lord. The sum total of devotional qualities is development of unalloyed love for Krishna. This unalloyed love for Krishna can be achieved simply by hearing about Krishna. Lord Chaitanya accepted this principle, that if one in any position submissively hears the transcendental message spoken by Krishna or about Krishna, then gradually he develops the quality of unalloyed love. And by that love only, he can conquer the unconquerable. The Mayavadi philosophers aspire to become one with the Supreme Lord, but a devotee surpasses that position. Not only does a devotee become one in quality with the Supreme Lord, but he sometimes becomes the father, mother, or master of the Lord. Arjuna also, by his devotional service, made Lord Krishna his chariot driver. He ordered the Lord, "Put my chariot here," and the Lord executed his order. These are some examples of how a devotee can acquire the exalted position of conquering the unconquerable. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachyadesh Tarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchikapachuribhyas Chakripas Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Yapanchavarsho Gurudara Vaksharayar Benena Yato Hridayena Duyata Vanammadadesha Karojitam Prabhum Jigayatad Bhakta Gunai Parajitam. The great sage Narada continued, just see how Dhruva Maharaj, aggrieved at the harsh words of his stepmother, went to the forest at the age of only 5 years and under my direction underwent austerity. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unconquerable, Dhruva Maharaj defeated him with the specific qualifications possessed by the Lord's devotees. Yes, so Dhruva is most remarkable devotee, really, very, very remarkable devotee. And because he's such a remarkable devotee, he, as Prabhupada puts it, he conquered the Supreme Lord. Krishna is known as Ajita, the term is used in the verse. Jita means one who can be conquered, and Ajita means one who cannot be conquered or unconquerable. And that's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we consider some of his pastimes, at least, where he's killing demons, particularly that sort of pastime, and others, like showing the universal form. So in these pastimes he exhibits extraordinary power, and he defeats people who are really just very extreme people who certainly, if we encountered them or if they attacked us, it would be too much for us, completely too much for us. But he just defeated them just like that, sometimes even literally at the blink of his eyelids, just, absolutely nothing, some monstrous demon. So he's unconquerable. No matter how powerful, how many opponents there are, unless he wants to sort of toy with them, and like as Lord Nrsimhadev, he toyed with Hiranyakashipu a little bit, just played with him. Hiranyakashipu, of course, is just about, well, he probably is the most powerful demon of all. Certainly he's way up there. But the Lord just easily, very easily disposed of him. But as we said, he toyed with him for a little while. It means he acted as if he was struggling to defeat Hiranyakashipu. But it was just a game. Prabhupada gives the example of how sometimes a cat plays with a mouse that the cat is going to kill. And, lets the mouse run away a bit, but then bang, the cat stops him and pulls him back. And lets him run off again. The mouse thinks, oh, yeah, I'm free. Suddenly, whoops, bang, gets pulled back. I mean, it's a bit sadistic, isn't it? But, it's very sadistic. But the Lord with Hiranyakashipu apparently let him slip from his grasp. And Hiranyakashipu certainly thought that, because I'm so powerful, he couldn't hold me. So I'm just going to now, get him. And even some of the demigods were watching. And because the demigods, or at least some of them, or however many, so many of them, they're not really pure devotees, and their faith in the Lord is limited. They have faith in him, but only to a certain point. And beyond that point, then they lack confidence in him. Is he really going to look after me? Or am I just going to get into extremely serious difficulty here? So some of the demigods were watching that great battle between Lord Nrsimhadev and Hiranyakashipu. And when the Lord let Hiranyakashipu, let him slip out of his grasp, then some of those demigods thought, oh no, he may defeat him. Yes, this demon, Hiranyakashipu, is so extremely powerful. Maybe he's going to defeat our man, Lord Nrsimhadev. Anyway, of course he didn't. And none of them do. None of them can. And at the very, very best, like in this case of Hiranyakashipu, if it appears that maybe the enemy is getting the better of the Lord, it's just that the Lord is playing. But actually he's completely unconquerable. All he has to do, even with someone really extreme like Hiranyakashipu or Hiranyaksha, just, a little flick. That's it, finished. Even not that. Prabhupada explained, it's explained, I read years and years ago, that with Hiranyakashipu, the Lord, and I mean, he's talking about Hiranyakashipu, but of course it applies to anyone. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, well, everyone has within their chest, as part of their sort of heart apparatus, the different things that are there which are involved in the workings of the heart, along with whatever tubes and veins and arteries and this and that are there in the sort of the greater structure of the heart. There is an on-off switch. Did you know that? There's an on-off switch. Just, we have for anything practically. And at the moment, it's on. And at that moment, with Hiranyakashipu, the switch was on. The switch was, down, depending which country you're in. The switch was down, means on. All the Lord had to do, because the Lord is there also. It's not that he has to find a way to enter the chest of the demon. The Lord is, what to speak of within his heart, the Lord is within every atom. Adantara paramanu chayantarastam. He's within every atom. So he's right there. And all the Lord had to do was just lean across, flick the switch. It's so simple. And that was it. That was the end of Hiranyakashipu. But the Lord, as his pastime, went through this whole battle scene. So one way or the other, whichever way you look at it, the Lord is definitely unconquerable and just far, far from being conquerable. He really is. But sometimes his devotees conquer him. But that doesn't mean there's some battle or something of that sort. The devotees conquer the Lord through love, because of their great affection for the Lord and their just extreme willingness. 108% willingness to do whatever it takes to please the Lord. Then, because they're just so totally taken with that, the whole idea of I must serve, I must please my Lord, then the Lord is so affected by that not even exactly that he just says, oh, okay, I'll do what you say. In other words, he becomes conquered, but actually cannot stop. He cannot stop them conquering him, because their love is so powerful that it overpowers the Lord, his emotions, his intelligence, his mind. These things become overpowered and he can't stop it. Not that he just agrees, oh, okay, I'll do what you say. Not that. In some cases, of course, it may be like that, but with these great, great devotees, Prabhupada talks about Mother Yashoda here and Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Because of their extreme affection, then the Lord loses his ability to assert himself, you could say, in his position as the Lord. I was reading yesterday, actually, I'm in the 4th canto, in fact. It was either chapter 8 or 9. And Srila Prabhupada talks about how the Lord sometimes, like a parent, like a father with his child, the father may, if the child decides, for whatever reasons the child may have, if the child decides, I want something from my father, then even though the way Prabhupada puts it is that even though the father, like, he may have been asked for that before by someone, but he declined. He wouldn't fulfill the request. But the little child, completely dependent and in a really heartfelt way, requests even something that the father would normally not agree to give and may have refused to give in the past, but but the father may give it to the child. And he's talking, Prabhupada at the time is talking about Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj. Yeah, because Dhruva Maharaj, Prabhupada's talking about Dhruva Maharaj wanting the kingdom, and how normally the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he doesn't really, particularly very substantial things which might, the devotee might become confused with, meaning the devotee might actually become materially attracted to. But now the devotee feels that he or she wants it, the Lord may often refuse with his devotees to give. But sometimes the Lord gives. And in the case of Dhruva, he gave. Dhruva wanted a kingdom bigger than his great-grandfather's, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma's kingdom is the entire universe. Dhruva somehow decided he wanted a bigger kingdom than that. But there is no bigger kingdom. Doesn't exist. Unless, of course, you transmigrate to another universe, which is bigger. But otherwise, within the context of our situation, it was an unfulfillable desire, because there just is no such thing. The biggest thing is the kingdom of Lord Brahma, and that's it. There's nothing beyond that. But the Lord agreed to give Dhruva that kingdom, which was even bigger than was possible to give. So he gave him the pole star. And there Prabhupada explains that actually the pole star is the Lord's personal planet in this part of existence. It's the Lord's personal planet. It's his place. When the Lord, Prabhupada explains, when the Lord, having discussed with Dhruva and so on like that, when the Lord went home, he went to the pole star because it's his planet within the material world. So, but the pole star Dhruvaloka, because it's a Vaikuntha planet, then even though it's within the universe, which is the kingdom of Lord Brahma, but it's bigger than the universe. It's sort of, it's a little difficult to express it really, but it appears to be within the universe, but it's not really within the universe exactly, because it is a real Vaikuntha planet, and that means it is unlimited. Like all the Vaikuntha planets, each Vaikuntha planet is bigger than the entire material creation, not just one planet within the universe. Vaikuntha planets are bigger than our planets. Not just one universe, which includes many, many, huge number of planets, but every Vaikuntha planet is bigger than the entire material creation with all its universes and everything. But it's with this one, and this one, pole star, is an actual Vaikuntha planet. It's not just sort of a material planet which has been adapted. It's a genuine, original Vaikuntha planet. But by the Lord's mystic power, it is apparently contained within the universe, although it's not, actually. Yeah. Sorry if that sounds confusing. But anyway, it's nice to be confused by things like that, you could say. Yeah, so that's the Lord's home. And he went home there, having told Dhruva that, when your time comes at the end of this life, well, you'll rule for 36,000 years, and then you'll come, and then it will become your planet. It'll become your planet, and you will rule it. You'll govern the planet, actually. So in that way, he fulfilled his desire. And, you've already read, like quite some weeks or even months ago, how Dhruva, he was lamenting so intensely after the Lord had left back to the pole star. Dhruva was lamenting, how was I so foolish? How could I do it? That he was willing to give me anything. And I said, yeah, I want a planet. Thanks. And what he says is, I just read it yesterday, so it's a little fresh in the mind. He says it's just like a very poor man, extremely poor, who somehow or other pleases some great emperor, who just, whose kingdom or whatever emperorship is called, he's just got so much, and he tells somehow the poor man's pleased him, and the emperor says, listen, just tell me what you want. That's all. It's yours. Anything. Just anything. And the poor man says, actually I forget exactly what he says, but it's sort of like, could I have a nice flat? Or could I have a nice meal? Or something like this, something just totally inconsequential for someone like the emperor. But the poor man, that's all he can think of. It's all he's capable of thinking of. But he could ask for a planet, or whatever, he could ask for some, just vast, vast opulence. So Dhruva is lamenting so extremely. It's really, really quite amazing. Just on and on lamenting. But because, and this is about him actually, how he has controlled the Lord. Because he's controlled the Lord gave it to him, but in such a way. Anyway, the Lord had faith in him that he wouldn't become bewildered. In fact, the Lord told him, you're not going to become bewildered by it, so don't worry. Yeah. And another thing I picked up yesterday, which it really struck me, I'd never really tuned into it sufficiently before, was about Suruchi, the stepmother who offended Dhruva, and the whole thing's based on that. Ultimately, the offense against Dhruva, which he reacted to in the way he did. So when Dhruva returns and everyone comes, he's coming back towards the palace and everyone comes out to meet him, including Suruchi, and she blesses him. May you live long, something like that. May you live a long time. But what she doesn't do, she doesn't apologize to him that I offended you. And she really knows that she offended Dhruva, and that's why he left. Because it became just like the talk of the palace, how she had offended Dhruva and how he left, and what a disaster it was and how horrible. So she never apologized. And later, quite some time later, when Dhruva's an adult and his brother Uttama, younger brother Uttama, is also an adult, Uttama gets killed by a yaksha. And Suruchi, of course it's her son, so she becomes deeply affected by the death of her son. But not just deeply affected, she goes insane. She becomes maddened. And she goes running out into the forest. It happened in the Himalayas. And she's trying to find him, and she got sort of consumed by a forest fire. And Prabhupada goes to some lengths to explain it's because of her offense to Dhruva that she died like that. And Prabhupada stresses the importance of not offending devotees. Otherwise you may end up like Suruchi. Even many years later, she died in a very sort of drastic and horrible way because of her offense to a pure devotee. Anyway, so here the main thing is that the Lord accepts subordination to his devotee sometimes. To some devotees, it's not just happening all the time with every devotee, but it does happen. Of course, we know how it happens with Mother Yashoda. We know how it happens that Mother Yashoda just orders Krishna around the house to do different little tasks around the house. And Krishna does those things. And then Prabhupada mentions Arjuna. By his devotional service, he made Lord Krishna, Prabhupada says, he made Lord Krishna his chariot driver. he ordered the Lord, put my chariot here. Go this way, go that way, faster, slower, turn around, watch out. He was directing Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna was accepting the direction and enjoying it. He was happy. Yes, he was very happy. Prabhupada said, the Lord likes to be under the control of his devotees. Of course, that is devotees like these two mentioned here, Mother Yashoda, Arjuna. The Lord likes it. He feels pleased. He even likes being chastised by his devotees sometimes. But of course, that is not us. We must not chastise Krishna. I'm not kidding. We must not chastise Krishna. You know, sometimes Krishna tests, and sometimes Krishna tests quite drastically, like very serious test. There's a conversation of Srila Prabhupada with Atreya Rishi Prabhu in Tehran, in Iran. He was trying to preach there at the time, Atreya Rishi. And Prabhupada talks about Prahlad, I think it's Prahlad, how the Lord tested him. But he tested him so hard. It wasn't just, a sort of happy days, casual little test. Prabhupada says he tested him so strongly. And Prahlad passed the test, and in that way he became a recognized devotee. So we also, we get tested from time to time. You've been tested, haven't you? You definitely have, I know. Yeah, so we've all been tested, and on a number of occasions, and we all will be tested. And Prabhupada makes the point there in that conversation that this is how a person becomes like a recognized devotee, meaning recognized by Krishna, by going through, Prabhupada says, the acid test. An acid test. Yeah. I hope I'm not frightening anyone. But anyway. So we must not get cross with Krishna, get angry with Krishna. We're not on that level, because they do it all in the course of the different pastimes, and it pleases Krishna. So, Prabhupada makes the point, and it's in relation more to us also, that Dhruva Maharaj conquered the Lord because at the very tender age of only 5 years, he just undertook such difficulty. And there actually, where I was reading yesterday, Prabhupada makes the same point. Because he was 5, such a little boy, but he just so seriously applied himself to a very difficult program. Therefore, the Lord became conquered. That was part of how the Lord became conquered. But Prabhupada says that so only 5 years old, he underwent all the austerities of devotional service. This devotional service was, of course, executed under the direction of a great sage, Narada. This is the first principle of devotional service, Adau Gurvashrayam. In the beginning, one must accept a bona fide spiritual master. And then if you do that, strictly following the direction, as Dhruva followed Narada, then Prabhupada says, it's not difficult to achieve the favor of the Lord. You know, we're all pretty much, most of us or all of us, in that type of position in that we have spiritual masters, basically. And so if we accept the instructions of whoever's our spiritual master, if we really accept those instructions truly wholeheartedly, then we're making steps along that path, which, you know, a lot further down the path, but still it's the same path, down that path, that the Lord will come to the point of being so pleased with us that he will or may or will accept subordination to us. Yeah. Of course, it's further down the path, but it is the same path. It's not a different path. And we have to just persevere. And as Dhruva did, under the instruction of his spiritual master, Narada Muni, we have to continue down that path under the instructions of our spiritual masters. And then the sum total of our development as we do that, the development which occurs on different levels, is the development of love for Krishna that will actually come. Prabhupada says, simply by hearing about Krishna, if we, in any position, we submissively hear the message spoken by Krishna or about Krishna, then gradually one develops the quality of unalloyed love, and by that love only one can conquer the unconquerable. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions? Words of wisdom? Correction? Yes?
I was thinking Krishna is most expert at enjoying. I mean, that's who he is, the supreme enjoyer. And he seems to get most enjoyment from serving his devotees. That's what he relishes. And the living entity also has that nature to enjoy, but we don't get it. Where's the best place? You know, what's the best type of enjoyment? We're looking for it in all sorts of ways to enjoy ourselves, whereas Krishna's finding the best enjoyment in serving his devotees. We should get a hint and find the same enjoyment that he is getting.
Well, that's the whole idea, actually. Yeah.
It's like we want to imitate him, but in the wrong ways.
The penny must drop that, I will enjoy if I stop trying to enjoy. But if I rather try to give Krishna enjoyment. Okay. But even, we get it and then we forget it. And then we get it again. And there are degrees of getting it and degrees of forgetting it. But hopefully it will sink in more and more as time goes on. That's where the nectar is. Well, the point is there with Lord Balaram, that even though he is the next one after Krishna, first expansion, but he's got that point. He knows that the thing to do is to be a devotee. And so that's his mood. There's a part, some verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita where that subject is discussed, including about Lord Balaram. Srila Jiva Goswami says, if you ask Krishna, who is God? Krishna says, me. But if you ask Balaram, who's God, he has every right to say me, but he doesn't. He says Krishna. And then if you ask Balaram, well, who are you then? Balaram says, I'm a devotee of Krishna. Yeah. Eventually, Lord Krishna got it. That's why he appeared as Lord Chaitanya. But it took a while for him to get it. I'm being disrespectful. That's the way it's put sometimes. The real nectar is in being a devotee. Yeah. When he realized that Srimati Radharani was enjoying 10 million times more than him by serving him, then Krishna realized, oh, okay. And then he decided, okay, I'm going to become a devotee. And he became Lord Chaitanya. Thank you. Comments, questions? Yes, Mother Rukmini.
Martha was wondering, the purport is saying that hearing about Krishna develops love.
Yes.
I was thinking practically, how does that happen?
Well, because, it's interesting. I've been going through every day, 5 hours, 4 hours a day, the Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada stresses repeatedly, you got to hear it, hear and chant. You got to hear and chant. You got to hear and chant. You got to hear and chant. Just repeatedly. And we might think, well, why not work hard for Krishna? I mean, that's also there. But the foundation of hearing and chanting has to be there. Because the thing is, if you hear about Krishna, first of all, well, I mean, so many things could be first of all, but one thing is, it's purifying. The heart becomes purified. And the dormant affection for Krishna becomes aroused, awakened, and starts manifesting. And of course, when you hear about Krishna and you learn, Krishna's like this and that, and so many things you learn about Krishna, then you appreciate Krishna. That Krishna's not just a big authority figure, but what a person Krishna is. And as that's how just on the material level, loving relationships develop. Because people get to know each other, and then they really find that, wow, what sort of person? This is a really amazing person. And the connection develops like that, just materially. I mean, with the inbuilt limitations, of course. But with Krishna, those inbuilt limitations on the material level are not there. And then you see that Krishna is lovable. Krishna is such an amazing person. Krishna is so kind. This is one of the points made just right in this place. And it's either, I think it's chapter 8 or 9, but I think it's chapter 8. That Krishna is so kind. He was so kind to Dhruva. He fulfilled this sort of crazy desire. Yeah, but he fulfilled it. It was just like, a stupid desire, actually, but he fulfilled it. I mean, there are considerations there, like he knew Dhruva would not fall down by having, big opulence and all that. He knew that, but still, just he did it. And one of the main reasons was that Dhruva started from such a, you could say, disadvantageous position, being 5 years old. It was just like a silly child's desire. That's exactly how the Lord and Dhruva himself, how they explain it. Stupid, childish desire. But the Lord fulfilled it because of his kindness. So, particularly as we start to realize deeper aspects of the Lord's personality, like his kindness to us, meaning individually, then, it really stimulates the relationship, our part of the relationship, and love. First of all, some appreciation and gratitude, and then gradually love develops through hearing about the Lord. How does that sound? Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And devotees, we have some Mahaprasadam here. So before you go, please come and get some. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Come, devotees. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
This is
This is
Nantu. This is Nantu.
Nantu.
She's in our play. We're doing the Gita.
Oh, right.
Yes, she's in the play. So
Really?
she's coming and staying at the temple and
Wow.
participate in the play.
When are you doing the play?
In October, we're going to perform 3 times.
Oh,
We're going to perform once in front of these professionals. And they're going to give us like tips, and then we're going to perform twice for the Playhouse.
okay.
This CAF, Unity Art Festival.
Right. I won't be here. But anyway, I suppose you'll do it because I really want.
In Joburg, then.
Until the 14th only. Then I go overseas on the 14th. But anyway, let's not stress. We'll see it again sooner or later. Anyway, Hare Krishna. So are you doing speech and drama, Nantu? You're studying, or what do you do?
No, I'm not studying.
You're working. Oh, I see.
This is her first play.
Okay.
Yeah. She just started coming to the Sunday Love Feast, and where did you just popped out of nowhere.
Yeah, I just came looking and I found this place, and then I got involved in the play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really.
And who are you going to be in the play?
I'm Gogo, the grandmother.
Wow.
So because we were doing this play for